Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Yeah, 'tis I. A bit depleted, to be certain, but here I am. I know there are some who would have suggested that I not be here today because I've been through the mill, but I just I wanted to. So here I am, and if I sound just uh, a little depleted, it is because I am a little depleted. Um, but we are living in such a fraught, terrifying, consequential moment in our history that I had to uh, be back and exhort us, including myself, to stand up and to fight back, because I am stunned at how we are sitting here watching our country be taken from us, and the entire world order as we have known it simply tossed out. It is unbearable and unthinkable. And inasmuch as any of us have any capacity to act in any way, if we do not, this is on us. I'm simply stunned by the silence. And I know there is not total silence, but I am still stunned that this is how it happens, not with a bang, but a whimper. Truly. Um, and so much has happened since we've spoken, because we're living in this time of a tsunami a day of horror, corruption, illegality, tossing out every constitutional norm, civil norm, all norms. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I just want to, like, one thought I had. I There was a governor's conference, right, at the White House. Um, I didn't see any reporting on it other than the fact that the president, I guess, speaking to the governors, I'm assuming all the governors of the states were there at the White House, and he speaking to them. I can't begin to imagine the garbage that was coming out of his mouth. But at one point in the stream of consciousness, he apparently asked if the governor of Maine was there, and um, and she identified herself and said that in fact she was, and then he said that he had. I'm sure you know this, that he said that uh, he had heard that she was not going to abide by. I'm not sure which exactly was it, the getting trans women out of sports in Maine, because the Maine law, her state law, conflicted with that. And And she said that she would follow the law, federal and state. And he said, he threatened her. I'm sorry, I don't have any of this here. It's just something I read. I'm sure you read it too. In front of all the other governors sitting there in the White House, the president threatened the governor of Maine with taking away federal funds from her state. And she said, "I'll see you in court." And that kind of defiance to his face is not something Donald Trump is used to. And so he was left to do what he then would do next, which is to belittle her personally and to suggest that her political life was over and to treat her with such disrespect. And I saw a clip of it, and the camera was pointed at the president. I couldn't see the governor of Maine. She was off to his right. I could only see these, round, they were sitting at tables as if they'd been served a lunch or something. And I'm assuming the backs of the heads I was looking at were those of other governors. And I have been unable to get this scene out of my head because this was an opportunity for every single one of those governors, people elected by the people with power. And not a one of them voiced they sat there and watched as the president treated one of them like dirt. And they did nothing. Not a one of them spoke out, joined her in her moment of personal courage in standing up for the people of her state and speaking directly to the president. There had to have been a numbers. Was Josh Shapiro there? I'm sure he was. Why the fuck, excuse me, didn't he stand up and say, "We will not be spoken to with such disrespect"? The people have elected us. Why do they not stand up? Not one. I haven't heard anybody say what I'm saying to you now. What is wrong? Like they're sleepwalking. This is not normal, what's going on. This is so beyond the pale in every respect, so over the line, that sitting there politely is not the right thing to do. What a moment it would have been if just one of them was Pritzker there. All these great Democratic governors, were they there? Did not one of them in that moment feel they had to stand up and say something? And the fact that they didn't, or maybe they did, but they thought this other voice in their head said, well, that would be unseemly, and then and they started calculating. I don't know. But this is why we are in bad, bad trouble. Because our leaders are not rising to the moment. I don't know what the hell they're waiting for. What a moment it would have been if, after the governor of Maine had said, I'll see you in court, the others started to applaud. Or when he treated her with such disrespect. One of them gallantly, I'll just say it like she was a little woman. The little woman stood up to the president. All those men there did nothing. Not a one. Stood up and said from his heart, we will not tolerate this. Who the hell do you think you are? Courage breeds courage. This is not ordinary times. Why are they acting as if it is? I want to throttle every one of them. I want to shake them. What the hell are they waiting for? A moment like that could have been big, could have been huge, could have signaled to the rest of us that we are not alone, that there are courageous people in positions of power who will speak up and fight back. Because our system is not up to it. It can't work fast enough. Our judicial system is not going to save us here. It's too slow. They are, in a matter of weeks, consolidating power. They are getting rid of absolutely every person in a position to stand up and say, that is not right. Every inspector general gone. All the people who administer the military code of justice, the JAGs, gone. So they've got free rein to use our military without anyone in the structure being able to stand up and say, you can't do that. And we have governors who sit in the White House and watch one of their own be treated like dirt, and they sit there silently. I don't give a goddamn if Jay Pritzker did some marvelous speech, and it was, to the Illinois legislature about the danger of this time. But if he happened to have been there in that room, which he could well have been, and he said nothing in that moment, then his speech is so much hooey. Words, pretty words, good words. And they would have paled beside him standing up and in the moment saying directly to that repulsive man, "We will not abide this." Oh, I'm sorry. I'm wearing myself out. I had no idea I was going to say any of that. I am stunned. I am stunned. I see that there is is it an ongoing? I think the last 2 Sundays in Squirrel Hill, there have been people in the streets. If that's an ongoing Sunday thing, I want you to be there. We need to be there. I need you guys to get up. I need you to call Shapiro and these other people and say, "Were you there?" We need, I don't know, guys, what are we gonna do? We're gonna sit and let this happen? What? What? These vile men and some women. You know, I read someone reminded in print of what uh, a president who I could not stand, um, but now I look back wistfully at Ronald Reagan. I mean, no, and he was part of what helped set us up for this. Reagan did, but he would be appalled, of course, at Donald Trump and these people because Reagan still believed in the idea of America. And it's an idea that requires buy in to that belief and a measure of honor in agreeing to play by the rules. And we took all of that for granted. And Trump and Reagan in 1984, it would have been what? It would have been the 40th, 84. It would have June 6, 1984. It would have been the 40th anniversary, right, of D-Day. And he was speaking in Normandy, I think. And he said this. This was the President of the United States speaking for the country, as presidents do. And I feel no shame in reading his words, as I feel shame constantly now as an American. Ronald Reagan said this: "The men of Normandy had faith that what they were doing was right, faith that they fought for all humanity, faith that a just God would grant them mercy on this beachhead or the next. It was the deep knowledge, and pray God we have not lost it, that there is a profound moral difference between the use of force for liberation and the use of force for conquest." Think of that. Because we are now a nation whose president speaks openly about the use of force for conquest. He sees power. He sees our power and wants to employ it as the autocrats of the world deploy their power, like Putin lusting after Ukraine. Now our president, lusts after Greenland, Canada, Panama, Gaza. My God. And Reagan said that day because he understood that even though we are powerful, we are not alone and cannot stand alone and need allies. Without allies, we would not have prevailed in World War II. And Reagan said on that anniversary, "The strength of America's allies is vital to the United States." Here again, Ronald Reagan knew that. Donald Trump not only doesn't know it, but he is actively attempting, and no one stopping it, to harm our allies, to hurt them, to belittle them, to abandon them. And we sit here quietly. Reagan knew, Donald Trump does not. Reagan said, "The American security guarantee to Europe is essential to the continued freedom of Europe's democracies. We were with you then in World War II. We are with you now. Your destiny is our destiny." And what does the President of the United States, 40 years from Reagan's statement of that, what does the President of the United States now say? It is beyond belief what has been said and what has been done. Nicholas Kristof says, I am not sure most Americans appreciate the monumental damage Trump is doing to the post-World War II order that is the wellspring of American global leadership and affluence. And affluence, not influence, affluence. Jeez. He's shattering it. He's making the world more dangerous. He's siding with a war criminal, Vladimir Putin, and he's poisoning the relations with our longtime allies in Europe, the transatlantic alliance, which we have never not known. He is unraveling it. He said, this has been a humiliating month to be an American. Yeah. Make no mistake, guys, we are at a moment that if somehow, I don't know, each one of us doesn't do things we could not conceive of ourselves doing, we will lose this. Too much damage will have been done. And even if we manage to stop this somehow, it ain't going to be easy. It ain't even going to be pretty. It might not even be able to be nonviolent. But we're going to have to. And if we don't have the courage, the gumption, the will to do it, then we do not deserve a democracy. We deserve to be the sheep who live in fear and follow orders. The Europeans are in shock. They watched the American vice president, this son of a bitch Vance, come to Munich, of all places. Munich, where Neville Chamberlain famously kowtowed to a fascist Hitler. He went to Munich and essentially told the Europeans to fend for themselves, and that it was their liberal democracies that were the enemy. It's what he said. He blamed Ukraine for the war. They were invaded. He's holding peace talks with the worst government in the universe, Russia, who invaded Ukraine, and Ukraine is not invited to the table, and he's doing this in another autocratic place, Saudi fucking Arabia. What the hell? The Europeans are terrified. And listen to just a Czechoslovakia, and I think he's their interior minister. He said this, I'm afraid we've never been this close to Orwell's War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength than we've ever been before. And he was referring to Trump. Turning the world upside down. Putting America on the side of Russia. Saying Ukraine started the war. This is Orwellian. And it's terrifying. I'm sorry. What am I sorry for? I'm not sorry. I just, guys, I am beside myself. I am. So let me, okay, let me just, you know, I find Angus King. You know what? What is it? Is he Maine or Vermont? He's Maine, isn't he? What is it? We're the only gutsy people hold office are in Maine now? What the fuck is going on? August King, who's not a Democrat. Uh, Stood up on the floor of the Senate. He, like Bernie Sanders, is an independent, but he caucuses with the hapless Democrats. And, you know, he sees what's happening and he's saying to the other senators, what I'm saying, only he's doing it in a more decorous way. But he's saying, what the hell? What is wrong with you? Why are you silent? I don't know why I can't find it, but I will. I'll read some of it because I found it heartening. He said this in the Senate on Thursday. I'm sorry, I've lost it again. He said, the reason the framers designed our Constitution the way they did was that they were afraid of concentrated power. They had just fought a brutal 8-year war with a king. They didn't want a king. They wanted a constitutional republic where power was divided between Congress and the president and the courts. And we are collapsing that structure. And the people cheering this on, I fear in a reasonably short period of time, are going to say, what happened? How did we make our president into a king? How did this happen? How it happened, King told the other senators, is we gave up. James Madison thought we would fight for our power, but no. Right now, we're just sitting back and watching it happen. This is the most serious assault on our Constitution in the history of this country. It is the most serious assault on the very structure of our Constitution, which is designed to protect our freedoms and liberty in the history of this country. Many of my friends in this body says, oh, it'll be hard. We don't want to buck the president. We'll let the courts take care of it. That is a cop-out. It is our responsibility to protect the Constitution. That is what we swear to. What's it going to take for us to wake up? I mean, this entire body to wake up. Is it going to be too late? Is it going to be when the president has taken all the power and the Congress is an afterthought? What is it going to take? We've got to respond. I am just waiting for this body to stand up and say, no, we're not going to do it this way. We don't do it this way. We do things constitutionally. That's what the framers said. They didn't intend to have a dictatorship, and that is where we're heading. We've got to wake up, protect this institution, and protect the people. Yeah. And it fell on deaf ears. Guys. Oh, God, guys. I had a list of some of the things that freaked me out in the last 10 days, and you know them all, I think, but maybe you might have missed some, Might have missed some of the horror that they wanted to destroy all the billions of COVID tests that we have in storage that are not, they're still good, that people have died. People are dying because of what they're doing. There are now, little stories. The 30% of the federal workforce is made up of veterans. And I wonder, what is going on in their heads, some of these people, so many of these people who voted for him? And when are they going to rise up? It's mind blowing. I read another article, local, about Ukrainian Pittsburghers, Ukrainian American Pittsburghers, who voted for Trump. They voted for him. They thought he was the answer. And now they're stunned that he has abandoned their homeland and taken the side of the aggressor. All of these little wake-up calls that his voters are getting now. Understand that we will not be alone in the fight, because a lot of those people are going to be enraged. Allison says, what about former presidents stepping up? Yeah, any of them. It's like everybody had their vocal cords removed. Beyond belief. It is beyond belief. One subversive thing that I saw that happened at the White House at that governor's conference, the Marine band or something, the Marine chorus um, was entertaining at the exact in the room where Trump so disrespected the governor of Maine. I could see it was the same room. No, it was the U.S. Army chorus entertained the governors sitting at their little round tables at their lunch. And do you know what they sang? They sang the song from Les Mis. Do you hear the people sing? It is a rousing anthem of the power of the people to rise up. I don't know if that got any press, but that was a wondrous piece of subversion. And I hope it was understood by these clueless governors, that they understood that at least. I don't know. So, um, can I just, I'll stop right now. I do want to, can I share with you what, a personal thing, if you'd let me? I'd like to. I don't know why, but I would. I have been through a rough patch, and um, you'll recall perhaps that on Thanksgiving Day, I managed to fall and break both my hands. Um, and so I was slightly crippled there for a while. It's rough when you don't have your hands, but you manage. But that day, that Thanksgiving Day when I fell and broke my hands, I, of course, refused everybody's efforts to help me and said, I'm fine. And I got in my car. I was at someone's house. I got in my car and drove home with my broken hands. And then I went to bed. Or, yes, I did. Went to bed. Let's just say I did not sleep because I was in horrible pain. And I began to think, maybe you should like have some x-rays taken. Maybe you hurt yourself here. So early the next morning, I did take myself to one of those Med Express places, and they did the x-rays and then said, you broke your hands. And they gave me these little, stilts, splints, and they wrapped one and gave a splint on the other, and then they said, we see you're on blood thinners, and did you hit your head? And I said, well, yeah, but I didn't hit my head hard. I fell, my hands hit concrete, my head hit the lawn, which was very nice. It had just been mulched. I came up with, mulch all over my face, but not a cut, not a bruise, not a anything. So I sort of, that, no problem. And they said, well, but when you're on blood thinners, you're really supposed to check for internal bleeding if you've had a fall. And we suggest that you go get a CAT scan. We can't do that here. And I thought, oh man, I just spent all this time here. You want me to go like to the ER the day after Thanksgiving, and which will be crowded. I've unfortunately spent lots of times in emergency rooms, so I sort of know them well. I said, it's going to be really busy. I hate to do it. I'm not going to do it. I know I'm fine. And the doctor said, well, okay, but I need you to sign this thing saying that you were told. I mean, so they wanted not to be liable if I ended up dropping dead because I refused to check. So I signed the paper saying, I refuse. Thank you. You told me. And I went home again. And I sat at home for a while and I began thinking. And I began thinking to myself, why don't you do the grown up thing? Why don't you take better care of yourself? And this is where I think, they say that single people don't live as long as people who are living with somebody else because we have no one to hector us into taking care. So I had to hector myself a little bit, and I thought, all right, I'll go. So I got up again with my broken hands, and I drove to the emergency room. And in I went. And as I expected, it was a nightmare. I was there for 6 hours. They insisted on x-raying my hands. I'm sitting there thinking, I just had an x-ray. So I was thinking they're padding the bill, always padding the bill. Then they said, and we're giving you a CAT scan. And then they said a CAT scan of your head, your chest, your upper torso, this, that. I said, well, there's a concern about brain bleeding. What? I thought they're just padding the bill. I hate everything about our healthcare system. And I sat and I sat. At least I was entertained by the other horrors going around me. ERs can be, quite a show of human misery, but still, I did find myself, just allowing myself to not go nuts. Anyway, eventually they got me to the CAT scan thing. And I was surprised because it looked familiar. They put you on this thing, and I looked up, and there was this on the ceiling, there was this beautiful picture of a blue sky with, the leaves of trees. You're lying on your back, and they stick you in that thing. And I thought, geez, I must have been here before, but I can't remember getting a CAT scan here. Anyway, eventually I got out and they brought me back to the ER where I sat for another 2 hours. And then eventually some woman came and she said she was a doctor. And she said, we looked at the CAT scan and you do not have any bleeding. So I said, oh, good. I didn't think I did. I'm thinking, geez, I did all this for nothing. She said, but we did see a node in your left lung. I said, a node? She said, yeah. And we saw that you had had a CAT scan here about 2.5 years ago. And we saw that the node was there then and it has grown. I said, wait a minute. There was a node in my lung 2.5 years ago, and this is the first I'm hearing about it. And they said, well, I'm not, what was that CAT scan for? I said, I don't remember. I'm always going to hospital. I don't remember. I think it was during COVID. It was during COVID. I was hospitalized in COVID and I had pneumonia. Yeah. And they didn't tell me. So, anyway, this time they tell me it was this big and now it's that big. And we found some nodes on your thyroid, and we're suggesting that you like immediately go and get a PET scan, which will determine what the heck this is. So, um, so I did, and what the heck it was cancer. Um, and then, so the surgery on last Friday was to remove part of my lung to take that cancer out of it. And so I got to tell you something. It's funny how things happen, right? Here's the good news. The good news is at Thanksgiving, I fell down and broke both my hands. Because now they do feel that they got the cancer out. There was the biopsy. I just found this out 2 days ago. The biopsy showed no 4 days ago. It showed no cancer in the lymph nodes or surrounding tissue. So that's the good news. That's really good news. I obviously just have to keep an eye out. So I wanted to tell you that I have been, distracted and anxious and dealing with scary stuff like that. But nothing has scared me. Nothing has come close to what these fucking sons of bitches are doing. And I keep thinking not just to our country, to the world. To the world. I rooted for Canada in the hockey game. I am so happy they won. I am so happy they beat America. Nothing against any of the players. I'm just happy. Make no mistake about it, we will be hated. We are hated. And we deserve to be hated for what we've allowed to happen. Thinking of traveling abroad? I'd work on your Australian accent or something. Unbelievable. So, um, Forgive me. I'm sitting here. I'm not. I want to say too. I'm not quite recovered. I mean, I still have quite a bit of pain, and I what happened after the surgery, my lung partially collapsed, and there was a fluid buildup and air building up, and I ended up having to go back to the hospital, and I'm sort of spent. I don't have my strength. I I don't have my head either. I feel foggy, and I suspect that's obviously the residual effects of the um, yeah, what do you call it, anesthesia. So um, anyway, I and by the way, I won't be able to do a show on Thursday because I have to see the surgeon again. He insisted. Um, and that was I can't do it because it's in the morning. So there's that. Otherwise, as far as I know, I'm back. I am on the mend, and I'm getting my strength back, and I need it. We all need our strength, and no one gets to sit this out. No one. Every day, do something. Okay. I've got what, 3 minutes? Um, Hey, I just want to say the New York Times today had a just rave article in the arts section about the television medical drama that is set here in Pittsburgh called The Pit. Coincidentally, I also happened to see that the novelist Stephen King had posted today that a rave review of his own about The Pit, saying it was the best medical drama ever. I also want to say that much of the exteriors and some of the interiors of the show are at the hospital that I now so well know, Allegheny General Hospital, because some of it was filmed there, although most of it on a Hollywood sound stage. But the New York Times article raves about it. It stars, by the way, Noah Weil, who had came to our attention ages ago for playing a doctor on the ER. But the article is about how the fans of the show, and it quickly became very popular, but the fans of the show are medical professionals. And they're quoted throughout this article like this: "It's the first time I've watched doctors on television and I felt I could see myself," says a doctor from Ann Arbor, Michigan. It says most doctors and nurses learned long ago not to expect reality in television dramas about their work. But The Pit, starring Noah Weil as the senior physician at a fictional trauma center in Pittsburgh, has broken away from the pack, in part because of its unusual accuracy. Since it premiered last month, the show has amassed an ardent following of real life emergency room doctors, many of whom have expressed a mixed surprise and gratitude for it. Um, so, just to tell you, also it says here that they do have doctors involved. One of the writers is a former emergency room doctor. He's actually one of the producers. Um, and they also say that they employ several real nurses as nurses in the drama. So just telling you that, if you were looking for something to watch and be proud of. And by the way, Pittsburgh really looks good in it. When you're at Allegheny General and in one of their rooms, you often have extraordinary views of the city, of downtown, which I did, and I thoroughly kind of enjoyed through my fog. So yeah, uh, Pittsburgh proud. It looks like it'll stick around because it's just getting rave reviews. The Pit, ladies and gentlemen. If you're looking for some distraction, okay. All right, that's it for me. Thank you so much. I'll probably now go to bed. um, Thanks. It's good to be back, and I'm as scared as I sound. And we have to be scared and willing to act, willing to be courageous, whatever that means. We'll find out soon enough. It's a frightening time. Don't poo-poo it. Okay? Good to have you here. Thank you so very much. I'm gonna, go and lie down, I think. Talk to you tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.